Good morning, YouTube. Hang on, we're just waiting on Instagram and Facebook, and we're live, are we?
We are live.
Big happy Friday, everybody. So big welcome to the K's Flower School live demonstration. So today it's all about spring. We're feeling yellow mellow here today. Hairband and all is all done in our daffodils, and you can see daffodils are here in front of us. So I've lots of tips and tricks to give you about daffodils. So why don't you grab yourself a notebook and pen, and that you can write down a few little notes, because some of these are really important. Also, click share and let's get the word out there, and let's get all your friends and that and your family and everybody else, your sister, your brother, your mother, your granny, and get them all joined in, and let's have a little bit of fun this morning. So how's everybody keeping? Where are you watching from? What's the weather like? Well, the weather in Dublin is a little bit dull. Feckin' doorbell is ringing there. It's a little bit dull here today, but it's not raining. But what do you think of the weather forecast for next week? What about this beast from the east? It's on its way. So we're definitely going to have lots of fun next week. Now, Deirdre's just gone to open the door. We have a courier actually doing a delivery coming here this morning. So I'm talking away here and I can't see any of the comments. But listen, keep commenting below there. Any questions that you have, any comments, and let us know where everybody is watching from. So as I said, today it's all about daffodils. So I went to our local florist there yesterday and I picked up a couple of bunches of daffodils. Shouldn't really say that because you're not supposed to do click and collect anyway. But when I bought the daffodils, they all would have been at about that stage there. Like, I swear to God, they were all really tight. And then what I did was I brought them home and cut them on about an inch off the end of them, 45-degree angle, placed them in water, and they've been in water since about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Now, anybody that knows me, and Deirdre will verify this, my house is like a sauna. I could work in the cold all day here, not an absolute bother at all. But once it comes to like flaking out on the couch at home, I absolutely love the heat on. So that's how much they opened in that short space of time. Now, when you go to your local florist to buy daffodils, remember, daffodils will only last 5-6 days maximum. That's the lifespan on them. So it's really important that when you buy your daffodils, that they're really fresh, and that you're picking up daffodils that are really at this stage. And yet when you see them, you might say, oh God, they never open. I'm telling you, every one of them daffodils was at this stage yesterday. Now, how do you know that they're fresh? Maybe you go into your florist today. Now, I know obviously you can't walk into a flower shop, just using that as a kind of a term. There's Deirdre back in, correct? That was your exercise for today. So I haven't a clue who's watching and what the comments are. You can check it in there in a second. But say you go to your local florist today or tomorrow and you buy daffodils and they are wide open like this, you know what I mean? And you're wondering, are they fresh? I remember when I was young, you know, the way, and Mum had the flower shop, and she used to always say to us, now girls, like, you know, with the daffodils, a blind person can tell if daffodils are fresh. And we used to be saying, what do you mean, Mum? And she'd say, get the daffodils, close your eyes and shake them. Now, I don't know whether you'll hear this. Can you hear the rustle? Okay, can you hear that? I don't know. Let me know if you can hear that. But what it is that when you shake daffodils, you kind of hear like a brown paper bag, a rustly sort of a sound, you know the way? And that's a sign that they're fresh. Well, what happens is on day 3, day 4, the petals go really soft. They might still look okay, but they go soft. And when you shake them, it's pure silent. So that's how she said the blind person will know whether daffodils are fresh. So try that out yourself. If you have any daffodils, shake them, and then after a couple of days, shake them again. You just go to hear the sound.
You can hear the rustle, yeah.
You can hear the rustle, brilliant. So that's your first lesson, right, is knowing when the daffodils are fresh. The next thing about a daffodil is when you bring them home, and as I said, brought them home, cut them on a 45-degree angle, placed them in water. Now again, I'm not sure if you'll see this, right? But normally out the end of the stem, you're kind of squeezing it, okay? Can you see that? It looks like snots. Okay, slime. Can you see that there at the end? It's not, by the way, right? We call it bleeding. Can they see that? I don't know. Can you see all the kind of like slimy parts at the end, right? So I'm going to wipe that with my jeans. So that's, I should have used wipe my apron, but I don't have a George me lovely yellow apron this morning. So that kind of sap, right? It's a white milky sap, and it comes out of the end of a daffodil. And it's a poison to other flowers. Now, it's not a poison to the daffodils. They don't mind it at all. But normally what happens, and try this out at home, cut cut the daffodil, you needn't be squeezing the slime at the end like I did there. Just cut them, put them into a glass of water, right? And you know, sit down with a cup of tea and watch, and you'll see like the white slime coming out of the stem. We call it bleeding, but it's not blood. And you'll see the white sap coming out of the stem and swirling around the glass of water, and then it actually dissolves and you don't see it anymore. And that's the poison gone into the water. Now when you cut any flower, it immediately sucks. So say you were to come along and you were then to get your lilies or your carnations or your roses or whatever other flower that you wanted to use, and you recut them and you place them into the vase with the daffodils that the water has been poisoned. What will happen then is that your fresh lilies, your fresh roses, whatever it is, are going to suck up that poison and it's going to absolutely kill them. So that's why if you ever go into a flower shop, you'll notice that they never mix daffodils with other flowers. The daffodils are always in a separate bucket. And even in flowers that we worked in, it was always called the Daffodil Bucket, you know what I mean? And make sure that bucket is rinsed and sterilised to an inch of its life before you use or put any other flowers into it. It was even that bad that when you're after cutting the daffodils, because normally when they come in from Holland, there's 50 bunches. Now every bunch has 5 daffs in a bunch, okay? There's 50 bunches of 5 flowers, you know, the way in a box. So again, you'd go through them all and you'd cut the inch off the end on a slant. What happens is all that white poison is on the blades of your scissors. So we were always taught then to dip the scissors in diluted bleaching water before we cut any other flowers so there was no cross-contamination.
Is it only daffs that Claudia's just asking that release the poison? Do tulips as well?
Does which?
Tulips.
No, tulips are absolutely fine. It's the daffodil sap that's a poison to other flowers. So all flowers bleed. Like, you know, tulips bleed, carnations bleed, roses bleed. Every flower bleeds. And what happens is...
They all like their own blood.
Yeah, they all like their own blood. You don't like cross-contamination and so on, you know. Like, we don't get technical here. But, you know, if you go... And I'm going to say supermarkets for this, okay? Because you normally wouldn't see this in a flower shop. You see, when the flowers come in from Holland, okay, and whether it be to their wholesalers or even direct to a flower shop, the end of the stem is normally dry because most flowers come in dry packed nowadays. So what has happened is the flowers were cut in Holland and they bled, but then they kind of dried up and they got a little crust on them. So it's a bit like, you know, you kind of get a small cut on your finger, anywhere on your body, by the way, and you kind of bleed. Now, I'm not talking a serious cut, you know, just a small little graze.
Paper cut.
And a paper cut, and you bleed a little bit, you know the way, and then it just basically seals itself up, dries up, and you get a little crust of blood. You're basically sealing your body up so you don't bleed to death, not literally, okay? Well, flowers are kind of the same. So what happens is, when the flowers are picked in Holland, okay, the growers are picking them, is they bleed, but then they dry, you know, they dry and they get a little crust at the end of them. And then they come to the supermarket, the florist, the wholesaler, or whatever. Now, a trained florist would know how to condition and treat all their flowers. And the first thing they would do, well, there's lots of things that they'll do, but one main thing that they'll do is they'll cut an inch on a 45-degree angle off the end of all the stems. Immediately what happens is the flower starts to suck. You see, when you cut a flower, it sucks, so it's going to suck up water. They will have sterilised water and they'll have flower food in the water. But the main thing is they have got rid of that crust at the end of the stem. If they don't cut them, and I'm going to say supermarkets, okay, because a lot of the supermarkets, they wouldn't know this, so they just get the flowers in from the suppliers, okay, and they're plumped into a bucket of water. And nothing is happening because the flower hasn't been woken up, you know the way, it hasn't been recut, it's not drinking the water that's in the bucket because the end of it has a little crust on it. And how you know is the next time you're in the supermarket, especially the roses, okay, pick them up and look at the end of the stem and you'll see that it's a dark brown, dark green, but it's more of a browny green kind of crust at the end. If you brought them home and you recut them yourself, or if you brought scissors with you and you then recut them, it goes a creamy lime green colour, and that's how you know that they've been cut fresh. But if you look at most of the ends of the stems in the supermarket bunches, you know, garage, you know, that way, you know, these kind of like convenience stores, you will see that they haven't been
diesel
cut.
bunches.
Diesel bunches, as we call them. Diesel do, but diesel as in the petrol stations or whatever. You'll kind of find that's why, like,
and that's why flower shops flowers last longer. Better quality.
Yeah, better quality flowers. You know the way, support your local flower shop and get out there and buy. So if anyone watching,
there's loads of people watching. Facebook is actually we're busy on all channels.
Well, we've loads of giveaways, so make sure you stay there and make sure you click share.
Bernie said she often puts a water vial on her tulips when she's mixing them with other flowers.
That is a good idea. That is a good idea. But another thing that you do, and this is a bit messy, okay? But if you cut the daffodils and you put them into the water, okay, they bleed for an hour. So if you left them in that water for an hour, and then you had a clean vase, you know the way, clean vase of water, with your tulips in it and all your other flowers, whatever, you could take these out, okay? You could rinse the ends of the stems under the tap, and then you could place them in the other vase with the tulips and whatever other flowers that you have. And once you don't recut them, if you go and you recut them, you start the whole process off again, and then it's actually fine.
And Mary says, what about the ones in the garden?
The same thing will happen to them. So when you cut them, they'll bleed as well. So that's basically like the growers.
And I think they look nicer in the garden than in the vase.
You know what I mean? For the price of them, like, you know, €1 a bunch, €2 a bunch. Like, would you cut your daffodils out of your garden? I just think they're so nice in the garden.
Joan was on. She said she loves your hairband. She says, did your mother make it?
My mother did make it, yes. So she's obviously in lockdown like everybody, you know what I mean? And she's bored silly. So I think there was such a slagging last week over the hairband, you know, that way. She said, Becky, Janette, she says, I'm going to get in and knit you one, or crochet one. So she actually knit and crocheted, and I says, well, make us a few little daffodils, I said, that I can stick on my hairband, or she stuck them on, she sewed them on for me. I says, because we're doing daffodils this Saturday, you know that way.
Everyone is loving that you're bright and cheerful in the colours this morning.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Deirdre said to me, I looked like a duck this morning. I says, Jesus, I would have preferred if you had said I look like a daffodil now, not a feckin' duck, you know. But listen, there was such great reaction to the hairbands last week, you know what I mean? I think you all absolutely loved it. I decided that I think one of the prizes today should be a make your own hairband kit. Now this is a special, like this is a one-off. There is not another make your own hairband kit now. As I said, one leg that has never been used, okay, they are well washed. I did wear them at some stage, by the way. But listen, this is I don't know how we're going to pick the winner, Deirdre.
I don't know how we're
going to pick the winner. We're going to pick the winner. So if anybody would like to win their own, make their own hairband kit, we can have this out express post to you today. And listen, we'd love to see a photograph of you modelling. We're only slagging, by the way. In case you're thinking, I have a brand new fresh pair. Couldn't get red ones. I did try, couldn't get red ones for you. But listen, these are 100 denier appearance, velvet opaque, matte finish, 2 legs, so you can actually make one for a friend as well. So, how are you going to pick a winner, Deirdre?
I don't know. They'll have to tell us their best hairband story.
The best hairband story that's out there is going to get their size medium. 1 pair. Oh no, they're actually large.
It doesn't matter though, unless you have a big head.
Doesn't matter, yeah, unless you have a big head, because you can have a bigger bow at the top anyway. They're not to wear, they're to make your own hairband and one for a friend.
Somebody says you don't have a leg to stand on with that winner.
I think they deserve the prize.
I think so too.
Send us your email. Send us your
hang on a second.
And we get them.
Rachel Green Valentine.
Fair play to you. But listen, we also have, for anyone that their hair is that bad and the roots are that bad, you need a hat, you do, you know that way. So I have 3 sets of these hats. These all came from Howick Flowers in Holland, okay? You can't see it because the tag is covered, but it says Flower Power on the top of them. They're absolutely gorgeous, and there's also a little pair of mitts as well. So I have 3 of these, okay? So 1 for YouTube, 1 for Instagram, and 1 for Facebook. So huge thanks to Frank over, I would pronounce it Howick Flowers. Hook is the proper name with a bit of at the back, you know that way? That's the Dutch pronunciation. But we have to organise how we're going to pick a winner for that. And also what we have is Silver Bling sent us out 2. Do you remember at Christmas we had the face masks? I don't want to open these because they're in sealed packets, you know that way? And they're face masks. But do you remember at Christmas we had the gorgeous Christmassy face mask with Santa and Rudolph and the gingerbread man? Well, these are gorgeous ones, okay? She'll have them up on her page, so maybe Tracy, if you're watching, is post a few photographs of all the Valentine's ones that you have. But basically it's a white face mask with a big red heart on the front, and it says Happy Valentine's Day. So I have 1 for Instagram and 1 for Facebook. I haven't a clue how we're going to pick a winner. And is there anybody homeschooling? Is that seesaw kit, or what's that seesaw site, driving you feckin' mad, okay? So anybody watching, homeschooling, any kids, we have some markers for them.
Trudy said, and this is actually funny because of the testimonial we got, Trudy says she's funnier than Mrs. Brown, she needs her own show. Somebody said you'd have to do a crash course on Mrs. Brown to be able to do our courses.
We had a student from the UK that was just finishing up with us there last week, and she said, like anybody from the UK that was coming to do an online course with Case Flower School, it'd have to do a crash course in Mrs. Brown and Irish crack to basically get the training here at the school. Anyway, back to the daffodils, okay? These straws, I wish this was a gin glass, but anyway, it's a pint glass, okay? So I was talking here before, I think it was when we were away in a hinge last summer, and we were talking about straws, okay? And I was saying, like, if I'm having a gin and tonic at home, I absolutely have to have a straw, you know? And I hate the paper straws. There's a paper straw there. The paper straws drive me mad. You know the way they go soft and soggy in the drink? And then you're chewing the top of them. And I absolutely love the plastic straws and the skinny plastic straws. And Bernie Hurley, you can see there, I'm nearly down to the end of the plastic straws. But anyway, it's not for the gin and tonic that I need them for today. It's for the daffodils, okay? I've loads to show you today, by the way. So make sure you stick with us and make sure you are clicking share. Big problem, or a question we get asked quite a lot is, Janette, how do you get the daffodils into floral foam? And being honest, they're a complete nightmare. They're not really suitable for floral foam, being completely honest. Because what happens with the daffodil is the end of the stem is hollow, okay? So I've showed you the snots and the slime already. So what happens then is when you go to stick it, or if you're holding the end of it and you squeeze it too hard, the end of it kind of splits, you know what I mean? So I'm being a bit rough with this one. But you see that the end of it kind of splits, and it's nearly impossible to get it down into the floral foam. Or the other problem is, like if you cut that part off, is then when you go to push it into the floral foam and you do hold it nice and gentle at the end, that you don't split it, the pressure of the floral foam splits the end of the stem.
Bernie says she has 2 more packs for you in the post.
Very
Tell her to
good.
keep one for to do our daffodils.
Yeah, keep one for yourself. You need it for the daffodils, you will. So what you have to do with the drinking straws, the thing is, the reason why Bernie sent them on to me there a few months ago is it's so hard to get plastic straws, because I think it's a lot of shops aren't selling them, you know, that way. So it is hard to get them. So what I'm going to do is cut the straw into 1.5 centimeters, okay? The colour of the straw doesn't matter. And down at the end of your daffodil is you insert the straw up inside it, okay? Now it won't go all the way up, like, so leave a little bit sticking out the end. Can you see like what I've done there? I'll just get another one. So again, you cut your straw, obviously cut all the straws up in advance. You know the way, keep them kind of small, so that's kind of like the size of the piece of straw there. Cut your daffodil to the length you want it, and then insert the straw up inside it. There we go, just steady hand. And then just give it a little bit of a push. Sorry, it just didn't go right in that one. Actually, I split the end of that one, so I'll have to go again.
Live TV, huh?
Live TV, this is it. This is what happens. So again, get your straw up inside your daffodil. Keep it close to you so you can see what you're doing. And don't push the straw all the way up inside it. Sometimes it might go up inside it, but it's okay for a little bit to be sticking out. So what happens then is when you, I have all these done already, by the way. So when you go to stick them into the floral foam, you're able to grip the end of the daffodil, which is nice and hard now, nice and firm, and you don't split the stem. And then you're able to push it down into the floral foam, and it's able to drink water.
Mary wants to know, could you use a cocktail stick?
A cocktail stick would probably do as well. If you cut it up small enough, it probably would do as well.
You
don't want to
get the
clog
grip,
the end
yeah.
of it, you know the way. And the idea is that, you see, the straw fits perfect. It's a snug fit, you know that way. Where you don't want with the cocktail stick, you see, the longer the daffodil, the wider the end of the stem. And what happened then is when you go to squeeze it, the cocktail stick is a bit too skinny, and then you're squeezing the end of the daffodil stem, and then you're splitting it. So that's really what the problem is. So that's why you actually use the straw. But listen, if you haven't got the straws, I'll give you Bernie Hurley's address. Actually, I'll give Bernie your address, and she'll post a few straws out to you. Now,
Sorry, just some. I can't see who asked me. Can you do the same with iris?
no, iris have a solid stem. They haven't got a hollow stem, so there shouldn't be any need. And there's no problem. Like, it's a nice hard stem. It'll go into the floral foam, no problem at all. It's only really with daffodils. Amaryllis, you can do amaryllis as well, but the stem is much thicker and it won't work. Now you need to be watching close for the next trick that I'm going to show you, okay? So I'm drying the table because I have the daffodils already strawed up and ready to go. And I want to show you today how to make a very, very simple floral arrangement.
Okay, while you're doing that, just getting ready, somebody's just asking, Angela, I think it was, how long will daffodils last?
6 days. 5 days with 6 days maximum, okay? And if you're probably only joining in there, Angela, when you get a chance, go back to the very beginning of this tutorial, which you won't be able to until I start talking. And I gave lots of tips and tricks all about daffodils at the very beginning.
Stacey says, I bet if you cut the straw on a sharp angle, you probably slide it into the front better.
Probably would, Stacey. That's actually a great tip, and I'll remember that the next time myself.
Christine said, great weather for Daffy Duck.
Are you slagging me as being Daffy Duck today? So what I want to do now is I'm going to make a daffodil arrangement, okay, which is going to work out very inexpensive to make. All you need is a little bit of floral foam, and I'm using cellophane, so I'm not using a container. So this is how to show you how you can make something and you don't need a container. Or during the week, like some of our students on our spring workshop were making hat box arrangements. Now they weren't using daffodils, but they were using lots of yellow flowers. You'll see lots of the photographs posted and they turned out fabulous. But the big problem is trying to get hat boxes. So for any of them that are watching, this is an idea for you, obviously for everybody else. So I'm using purple, I'm using the coloured cellophane because I knew you wouldn't be able to see the clear cellophane on the table. And I just thought the purple and the yellow would go well together, you know, for Daffodil.
And just for those on YouTube, I am going to angle the camera when you're doing this so they can actually see what's going on.
And I'm going to do it twice, okay? So open out your cellophane on the table and you fold it into a triangle. And you needn't be really fussy that the triangle is perfect, okay? So that one's okay, it's actually perfect enough. And you slide up the side, and don't worry that I actually did that a little bit crooked, I'm just kind of pulling it apart. It's absolutely fine. Nice and casual, nice and relaxed, okay? Now, I'm not going to open it. If I open that out, I actually have a near enough perfect square, okay? So that's how you make a square if you ever have to do a square at home. But I'm going to leave it in a triangle. And I'm going to do this twice, so don't worry if you're kind of like missing it out the first time. I'm going to fold it over in half, okay? I'm going to fold it in half again. I'm going to fold it in half again, and I'm going to fold it in half again. In other words, keep folding it as many times as you possibly can. And then decide at some stage where you want to trim it. And you're better off going down a little bit lower. I'm purposely going down extra low on this one, right? And I'm going to cut out a half moon circle. Can you see like what I did there? Now again, it's not a perfect half moon circle, it's a bit of a half moon circle. And if I open it out, okay, I've actually missed one little bit of it there, so this turns out, it didn't turn out 100% perfect, but I'm going to do another one. And to see the way you get a circular shape, okay? Now because my table hasn't been dried properly, okay, it's a little bit wet, so I'm just going to get another little bit of kitchen towel and just dry this off a little bit better this time. So watch closely this time, okay, and I'll do it right this time. Open out the cellophane on the table and fold it into a triangle shape. Get your scissors and slide it up the side. Okay, leave it in the triangle shape and fold that triangle in half. And fold that triangle in half. And fold that triangle in half. And fold that triangle in half, okay? And low down, and normally I kind of say where the lowest bit of cellophane is, because that's obviously what happened the last time. And just to show you, it doesn't have to be a half moon circle. This time, because I'm going to do an extra one, I'm going to cut it into a triangle. Like, you know, kind of like a castle. You see, like a crown. Okay, and then when I open it out, can you see the way you're getting the edge on it? Okay, and da 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 da, I can say it this time, da 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 da, that's how you get your circular piece of cellophane. So I'm going to do it once more because the first one I made turned out a bit of a bag, so okay? Open it out again on the table, so hopefully this will definitely have this trick. Fold it into a triangular shape, okay? Don't worry if it's not an exact match. It was the way I cut the last one that made it went wrong. It wasn't anything to do with how I folded it, okay? Fold your triangle in half. Fold your triangle in half, fold your triangle in half, and keep folding, folding, folding. And where the lower fold is, which is in there, okay, and this one I'm going to go a little bit smaller, and I'll cut the triangles again, so triangles, triangles, up and down, like a bit of a kind of a castle circle shape. And when you open it out, do you see the way you get your circular shape? And years and years and years and years ago, you used to be able to buy circular pieces of cellophane cut like this, and they used to be called a margarita. So if you're a bit hungry, you're probably thinking of a pizza, and if you're like me, you'll probably be thinking of a cocktail. So margarita was the name of them. They used to also call them rondelles. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my turntable for this, and I'm placing the larger cellophane down on the table first and try and get it fairly even. And then I'm placing actually I should have done it the other way around. Let me see.
Yeah, the small one inside.
So, Joe, do flatten the table first. Jesus, I'm all over the place today, haven't I? So I'm putting the small piece of cellophane on the table first. And then I'm going to put the larger piece of cellophane on top of that. Actually wasn't that much larger, to be honest. Can they see that design?
Yeah.
It actually looks well on the table, right? So can you see it? And now I'm going to place that onto my turntable. Now you can do this on the flat of the table and just make sure it's kind of evenish enough. There we go. And into the centre of that, I'm going to place a half a block of foam, right? And what you can do, and I brought the knife downstairs for Dad for that delivery that was coming in. So what you can do is with a florist knife, any knife will do. And I do have a bin, just in case you think I haven't, okay? So I'm just going to cut the four corners off the edge of the floral foam, so it's already been soaked. And then I'm going to trim around the top, okay? This just makes it easier for me, that's all. It's not necessary if you forget to do this, it's not a big deal.
Well, we're up over 300 people watching us on
Brilliant, fair play
Facebook.
to you. So start clicking share, and listen, you too can win your own, make your own hairband kit, a hat to cover your bad roots, or a face mask to cover your bad face, or whatever you want. We've lots of prizes today. So, how are we going to do this, right? So I have some eucalyptus. So I had a bunch of eucalyptus this morning, and we bought it in from our grower in Wicklow. And this is the Glaucescent eucalyptus, which has a fabulous scent of it. And I just kind of cut it up into little pieces. I'm just going to stand that one in the centre because I have it in my hand, right? So I just cut it up into random lengths, like no particular size. And some of the eucalyptus is going to stick out that side, and some of it is going to stick out that side, and some of it is going to stick out that side. You get the idea?
Emer wants to know what size is the Oasis block.
A half a block with the corners cut off and trimmed around the top. Now all the foliage is only going into the top part of the floral foam, so it's not going into the side parts at all. And I think I nearly have enough there. I don't want to overdo this. I can stick another bit in a few minutes if I want to. Another thing that I got, I'm sorry if I went off camera for a second. Now this might look a little bit baldy, but I've been at it already, okay? This is a bunch of pussy willows, okay? Just bring it in front of the arrangement there. So pussy willows, and again, I got this in from our growers in Wicklow. And I just got at it there. I didn't bother taking the elastic band off it, and I just cut like loads of the little pussies off it here this morning. So like nice little skinny pieces with a few little fluffy duffies on it. You see that sort of effect? And again, in between the random lengths, you know, that way, I didn't even cut the elastic band off the end of the pussy willow. There's a nice straight one. I'll bring that one in the centre. And I'm just kind of like basically sticking the little bits of pussy willow, do you see, in and out through it there. And I'll probably put a little bit more in, but I don't want to overdo it until I actually get the flowers in. Now if you have any questions, Deirdre is watching the camera there. Post your questions and I'll try and answer them if I know the answers. So then I'm taking my daffodils out of the vase, and I already have the drinking straws in the end of them. So anybody that's watching, okay, you'll have to go back to the very beginning of the video to watch how I did it. So no particular pattern. I'm not cutting these any particular lengths. And you see how easy they're going into the floral foam, right? So just keep turning it around, and anywhere that you can kind of see a little bit of floral foam, which I've absolutely loads of it, start sticking your daffodils in.
Sorry, Janette, somebody's just asking, could you put jip in with this?
Well, you know me, Deirdre, what do I call it? Muck and diamonds, okay? And I don't mean that in a bad sense. I just personally think that jip does nothing for daffodils. I don't know what is. I'd rather put in solidaster, solidago, sea spray, status, lemoniums, you know the way. What else could we put in and out through it? Like, I'd rather put something like that in through. I just feel
even irises or tulips or...
Iris or tulips, yeah, but as a filler, you know.
Oh, as a filler,
jip
yeah.
does nothing for
solidago,
daffodils.
solidaster, yeah.
So jip does absolutely nothing for daffodils. It's just, I always think jip is more like the diamonds, and I love daffodils, okay? Daffodils would be my flower because my birthday is in March, and daffodils are the flower. If your birthday is in March, daffodil is actually your flower. So I absolutely love them, but I just feel jip doesn't do anything for them. So here at the school, I always call it muck and diamonds, and I don't mean that the daffodils are muck.
Okay, Lorraine is asking over on Instagram, what else could you use instead of the pussy willow?
You know the birch twigs? Have you ever seen me using the birch twigs or the willow twigs? You could use that. You wouldn't, like I did this during the week for another video. It'll be coming up on our page very soon. And I didn't use the birch twigs, and it was only when it was finished, Deirdre said to me, oh, it's a pity you hadn't, or I didn't use the pussy willows. Deirdre said, God, you should have used some pussy willows going in and out through that. So you don't really need them. They're in season. They're around at the moment. And what I would advise you to do with the pussy willow is to buy them and dry out some of them. So, like, say that bunch there, right? I have a good few bunches of this, right? But the ends of it, like, I don't put that in water. I'm just going to stand them in a dry bucket, an empty bucket basically, and put them in your garage or your shed. And what will happen then is that they'll dry out and they'll stay exactly as they are. Where if you cut the ends of them and you put them into water, which is these ones here that I'm after cutting, what happens is the little fluffy duffies on them, they'll obviously grow bigger, and they'll open, but then they'll actually go to seed, and you'll have a little bit of yellow coming out of them. The daffodils will be well gone at that stage, by the way. Again, that happens.
Susie says, margaritas and drinking straws, it's Friday.
Absolutely. Did you like my little video this morning? You know your man getting out of the car, you know the way I do that. It's Friday here. I actually don't know the words, but you know the song. It's absolutely mad. So what do you think of this so far?
Yeah, they're absolutely loving it. Who's said to me? Angela said, what do you do with the arrangements when you're finished, Janette?
Well, the other day I made one and I brought it around to my mum for knitting my hairband. So absolutely nothing really.
Bring them home for ourselves.
Sometimes there's no straw in them last two, but I'd say they were some of the ones that I took up to kind of demonstrate.
Mary Siobhan says you could use the dogwood.
The dogwood, absolutely perfect, yeah. So I think I nearly have enough daffodils in there. So now I'm just going to add a little bit more of the pussy willow in and out through it. And I'm glad I just put the small amount of foliage because you can see there's enough in it. Somebody's going to ask me how many daffodils, haven't got a clue, right? I just kept sticking them in, rewind the video, count them and place it in the comments and you might win a prize.
Marie wants to know how can you get flowers in, it's so hard. Your flower shops are delivering. You just ring them up.
All flower shops are delivering. Just ring them up and they'll send them out to you. You can't go and collect them, but they will send them out to you. So Google your local flower shop's number and really, like you really want to support them. Like you'll all be cracking up when this is all over and suddenly like your flower shop is gone and you're looking for your wedding flowers and your funeral flowers. You cannot be a proper florist, you know that way. So please give them the support. And if there is any flower shops watching there, feel free to post and your contact details below there or tag us on Instagram, we'll share you, like we really don't mind.
They're loving this. This is a real feel-good arrangement.
It is a real
and you know what, we need it. We need it badly, yes.
Like I think everybody is pissed off at the moment. We're sick of being locked down, locked up, whatever, knocked up. We're sick of the pubs being closed, not being able to see our family and friends.
And so many families have been affected by COVID.
Absolutely, and that's actually Joan Muldrew, if you're watching, big hug. So everybody give Joan a virtual hug. Her dad has been diagnosed with COVID this morning and I know her mum isn't great either, you know, so big hugs Joan, thinking of you and anybody else that's been affected, you know the way we are.
Obviously somebody has asked, I must miss how many daffodils did you use, but somebody is commenting and it's between 23 and 15 is the answer. Yeah. 26, Olga is saying 26.
Haven't got a clue, I didn't count them, genuinely I didn't count them. So I made this bow already this morning, you see, it's just like your double collar bow, right? And this is the tricky part with this arrangement, is you have to bring up the cellophane. I was wondering would I add an extra bit of height, and I think I will. Now this is just for height in the arrangement. So I just have a spare piece of floral foam that I'm going to put underneath there, right? And then I'm going to bring, you're not going to see this, okay? So that's why I use the coloured cellophane. So then I'm bringing it up around it. Can you see the way it's starting to look like a bunch or a bouquet of flowers? Now genuinely I could probably do with another hand. And my duck isn't helping me, okay? So we come along here, I'm going to use my chest, grab a bit of ribbon, and if this turns out a bit messy, just bear with me because there's nothing I can do. I'm on my own, I'm grabbing the wrong string here.
There you go, you have it, yeah.
Okay, come up around it. Yeah, I'm glad I used that extra piece of foam because it's just kind of brought up that extra bit higher. Just make sure my bow is up around it. So it's like kind of pulling your jeans up around your waist, you know what I mean, that it's comfortable. And at the back here then, I'm just going to tie a knot. I fancied off the ends. You could tie a bow. I'll see, can I tie a bow? I'm going to just tie a knot for handiness, or we'll see when I get a bow would be nicer.
Tie a knot and then turn it into a bow.
I need something to kind of hold it, but anyway, like bear with me. Okay, there's a little bit of a bow there at the back. So around the front here, I'm fixing it. Now, you know the way I put the two layers of cellophane and the way I cut one smaller than the other? The reason for that is that I can go along now and split them without tearing the feckin' stuff, okay?
They're all absolutely loving it. Joan says, thanks so much, you are so kind. Somebody else, Elaine, is sending hugs and kisses to Joan as well.
Oh, brilliant. Is that Elaine Murphy, is it?
No, Elaine McNamee.
All right.
Let me see. Somebody wants to know how long will this last?
5-6 days maximum. Do you know that sort of way? But you listen, you could do this with other flowers. And if anybody does it during the week, because I absolutely love when I do the demos, because what did we do last week? People posted up on the page of the flower.
Oh, the boxes, the flower boxes and the single roses.
Yeah, so on the single roses, I seen was Linda Benson said she had a good roll in the hay, good roll in the bed she did. So there we go. So there's our little daffodil bouquet of flowers, you know that way. But it looks nicer for somebody who hasn't got a vase, hasn't got a container. I said.
What do you say for playing knick-knack?
I just say, like, if you do know somebody that's maybe on their own, that you know yourself that they're feeling a little bit down, a little bit lonely, why don't you go and knock on their door, and as me and Deirdre call it knick-knack, you know, that way, knock on their door, run away, and just leave that on their doorstep. Imagine opening your door and like that being on your doorstep. Wouldn't that cheer you up? And I actually know somebody that I'm going to go and play knick-knack on their door today.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think she watches us on Facebook. Sometimes she does.
I think I know who it is now as well. Yeah.
So that's giving me, I'm going to go and knock on her door because I know she's feeling a little bit peed off, you know, at the moment, and this will definitely cheer her up. So listen, who are we giving the prizes to?
Okay, well, we're going to give Rachel the Rachel Valentine, I think it was, the make your own hairband, the fresh care tights.
So email us with your
But
address.
she needs to send us on a photograph of the finished design.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also the one for the friend, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't forget the one for the friend.
And I think we'll send up Joan a hat to keep her head warm.
So Joan, you send us up your address. I know we have it, but save me having to look it up. And you definitely deserve a hat to keep you nice and cozy. And we still have, what about Facebook or Instagram?
YouTube, I have, hang on a second, let me see, because I did see a comment.
You see there, Deirdre, that said something nice.
Joanne Konop something. Joanne, and you said that IKEA have the straws.
Okay,
so thanks for
Joanne,
that. That's
send
on
us your address and we'll stick a hat in the post to you, and we've one more hat.
And our last hat is going to go to Coco P, COCOOP, and you're on
Send us your
Instagram.
address and we'll send a hat and mitts out to you. Huge thanks to Howick. What about the face mask, Deirdre?
Oh, the face masks, forgot about them.
Okay,
do you know what? Just do go over and comment on Silver Bling's
Absolutely.
post.
Right, so somebody put the tag up, put the @ and Silver Bling. So Silver Bling is
one
the
for
name of the
Instagram
page.
and one for Facebook.
Yeah, she's on Facebook and she's also on Instagram. So go over to her page, say something nice, share it, and I'm going to ask Tracy to pick a winner for the face mask first. That's the fairest way to do it.
Yep, Janette has just posted up the link to Tracy's Facebook page.
Brilliant. Listen, fair play, everybody. Hope that's put a smile on your face. Big, huge thanks for joining in with us this morning, and huge thanks for sharing. If you didn't share yet, click and share there for us. And listen, we'll be back on next Friday, and next Friday we're back to Valentine's Day. We also done a little live
Somebody wants to
demo
know, can they buy the hats? No.
No, the hats are all they're all given. They're
Howick.
kind of like, they're from Howick, they are, and they give them as a promotion. But he's giving me more for next week.
Always looking for, can Mrs. K give the thing for the hairbands, the recipe
yeah.
or the...
And you know what? She's done me a gorgeous red one, Olga. Wait, I'll show you. Now, I want her to do hearts on this one. But you see the way it's plaited? Can you see that there? But see me, it's plaited with 4 pieces, not with 3 pieces. So that's the red version of it. And she done that one for me first, and I said, it's gorgeous. I said, do that for next Friday. Because she was giving out about the red tights. I said, put a red heart on it. So that'll be next week's hairband. She just has to put the hearts on it. So I'm sure she's watching. Sure, she's one of our biggest supporters. And I think she got the patron off YouTube.
I think she
So
did,
maybe,
yeah.
Ma'am, if you're watching, post the link for the hairbands.
Yeah.
What's wrong with this hairband? There's nothing wrong with that hairband, Olga. Do you want these ones, Olga? I'll send them out to you. Listen, goodbye everybody. Huge thanks for joining. Click share, give us the thumbs up, share the love, and see us all next week. Bye bye. See us all.